Walk down and flush them out.
Welcome to the Hearts of Men podcast, a journey into the depths of men's hearts where courage meets vulnerability and wisdom embraces integrity. In a world that often measures a man by his outer achievements, this podcast dares to explore what truly defines a man of character. We unpack the challenges and triumphs that shape men's lives, bringing to light stories of resilience, compassion, and unshakable faith. We believe that the heart of a man is a treasure trove of untold stories, powerful lessons, and profound wisdom. Through authentic dialogues and insightful discussions, we aim to unlock these treasures, one story at a time. So, whether you're seeking guidance, inspiration, or simply a moment of reflection, you're in the right place. Get ready to be challenged, inspired, and transformed. And now, to guide you through this journey of discovery, please welcome your host, a visionary leader and a true catalyst for change, Dwayne Dwyer, but we affectionately know him as the Mindset Coach.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this evening's episode of the Hearts of Men podcast hosted by the community. We're your hosts for this evening's conversation. My name is Dwayne Dwyer. I go by the Mindset Coach, and I am joined by a full house of these awesome gentlemen. I will start up top where I am. To my side, I have the oldest member of the panel up here. You have Mr. Roland Walker, poor man's Dr. Phil, also Mr. Schiff Hampton, gray beard over there. And on my other side, we also have my other brother, Uncle Junior himself, Mr. Garfield Martin, also known as the Consistency Coach. Below us, we have our youngest brothers, starting with the youngest on the panel, Mr. Tawami Gaddy, also known as the son of Timothy, or the Available Man. And by his side, we have our other brother, Mr. Christopher McClellan, from across the table with Christopher McClellan. He is still angry, but trying. Gentlemen, how are you doing on this beautiful Friday evening?
Not well.
Be here. No, no. Hey, I'm good. I'm ready. I missed y'all, man. I wasn't here last week, so I'm ready to engage and see what it is that I can take from this to continue to elevate.
Well, I'll be honest and I'll be transparent. So I don't have days where I don't have bad days. I have bad moments or situations that happen throughout the day, but I don't let that one thing or that one argument or fight or whatever it is ruin my entire day. But I will say that today was a bit of a struggle. I guess felt like I was in some kind of funk. Like I was fine. I was able to move, do everything I wanted to do, but it just felt like I just wasn't at 100% mentally. But I don't know why. I'm fine, but I know that tonight and the topic, and I've been looking forward to listening to Chris and what he has to say tonight. So I know I'm going to get some of this energy, and I ain't even worried about it. So I was actually looking forward to tonight's conversation. So I'm doing okay. I know I was long-winded, but
no, man, you're good. You're good.
I am well.
Okay.
I am well.
All right. Good.
Just gonna leave it for 2 words. Okay, I see.
Now, I'm doing well. I can't complain. But I waited last on purpose because it's the order. I feel since you brought up the beard in the beginning that this is how the introduction should have went, because you got the gray beards on top, you got the salt and pepper coming in over there,
and no beards at the bottom. Let's get it real. The gray beards and the no beards.
You got the gray beards and the jet blacks. You know what I mean? So you know, it is what it is.
So good point. And I will be honest with you, I did not even realize we were arranged in this order. So I see what you did there. Miss J, I got you. I appreciate that. Great beards up top. Hey, listen,
You know?
as always, we greatly appreciate being able to be here with you guys on Friday evenings. Again, we know that you could be any other place on a Friday evening, but you chose to be here with us, and we do not take that lightly. And just as as our brothers just articulated, I am awesome. I'm swell. I'm loving this because I always look forward to spending time with you guys. That said, we also look forward to spending time with the people who choose to be here with us on Friday evenings, and everybody who's in the chat. Y'all know we like to call you guys out by names. So Dylan, good to see you, brother. Welcome to the show. This is your first time. By all means, go ahead and subscribe. Put your cursor in the lower right hand corner, subscribe, and man, you're welcome to tune in every time you want to. Michelle Ray, good to see you. Lisa Keys, Nick D, good to see you. Miss Adrian Walthall, good to see you. Let's see, Crystal Everett, good to see you. Bernadette Simmons, good to see you. Welcome. I think Nick D already called you. Miss Verlene McCoy, good to see you and welcome to the show. Let me see. I think I got everybody. Michelle, stop it. I think I got everybody. Listen, again, if this is your first time with us, by all means, we welcome you as often as we go live to come back. The only way that you'll know though is if you subscribe to the channel. So again, if you're on YouTube, you'll find the YouTube icon in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. Go ahead and click on that and subscribe. Also, if you're on any other platform, again, we want to welcome you, whether you're on Facebook, whether you're on Twitter, X, whether I'm struggling to saying X and not Twitter, whether you're on X, whether you're on Instagram, whether you're on LinkedIn, that's fine. We welcome you. And again, again, by all means, come on over to YouTube. That way you'll know exactly when we go live. You'll find us here every Friday night at 8 p.m. And there are some Saturdays you'll find us at 10:30 as well. And also, if you guys have not seen it yet, unveiled this past Tuesday was Coach's Corner. So we do Coach's Corner on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. So again, just come hang out with us. We like to have fun. Listen, that was a lot. So we're just going to kind of get this party started, dive into the show. Everybody ready to go? Man, look at me. I'm gonna need y'all.
Yeah, let's rock. Ready to rock.
There you go. Crank your energy up, man. Listen. Have you ever found yourself lying awake at night wondering how is it possible to juggle the demands of a fulfilling career, a nurturing family life, and a deep personal faith? If so, then I want you to know you're not alone in that quest for balance. Tonight, we're here to share that not only is finding that equilibrium within reach, but it is also the key to living a life filled with joy, fulfillment, and intention. In this episode, we're going to explore the delicate art of setting boundaries, managing time effectively, and cultivating strong relationships that support your journey. We'll provide you with actionable insights grounded in principle that will guide you in aligning your daily life with your highest values. Whether you're feeling overwhelmed by the pressures of your job, striving to give your family the very best of you, or seeking to explore your life's journey, this podcast is your sanctuary. We invite you to join us as we uncover the secrets to thriving in all areas of your life with wisdom that has been sought after for generations. Stay with us until the end and embark on a transformative journey to balance your life with purpose and grace. Let's find those answers together. So I want to start off, gentlemen, as we all come back to the stage. I want to make sure that everybody who's listening, because the title of this platform is Empowering Perspectives for a Reason. So on this platform, we believe that everybody is entitled to their own opinion, their own perspective. So we consider ourselves to be subject matter experts of our own perspective. So again, by all means, share your perspective, not only in the chat, but listen to the perspectives over here on the platform, respond to what is actually being said, answer the questions. And I like bringing things to the stage. And oh yeah, by the way, you guys already know, if there's a question in the chat, I will derail the whole show just to make sure that we answer it. Okay. So we're going to get this conversation started off. And so the first area that we're going to talk about is the foundation of values. Now, everybody's perspective real quick. I just want you guys to kind of like break, for those people who don't know what values are, what values mean, like what's your concept? What's your definition of values?
My bad. We both heard each other breathe, I guess. No. Value, well, just general, right? So general aspect of values is just your core set of beliefs, right? Where you draw uh how you operate, how you deal with people, how you treat people, how you act, that core, those things that are instilled in you, whether from family, whether from your religious backgrounds, or whether things that you've gathered from, maybe the military or an occupation or something that you have dealt with in the past, and has drawn you to operate in a certain way. And so the foundation of values is just your core set of beliefs.
I think values and beliefs are different because beliefs are something that you hold to be true without actual factual information, whereas your values are something that you hold near and dear to you. Your set of morals, your set of what you have in high regard. So if some people, when you have no values, any and everything goes. Whereas if you have values towards a certain item or a certain set of rules, those are the things that you'll focus on and adhere to.
So I'll just read from this book. I'll tell I'll tell you what it is later on, coach. But values is, for me, it is pretty much your ideas, beliefs, and your traits. And these also values, they serve as a guiding principles for your decisions and actions, and they help you make choices that align with your sense of purpose and meaning. So that's my definition of what values is.
You all kind of said it. To me, values, as we're using it, it's just a set of principles and a set of morals that you'll abide by. So yeah, you all said it.
Yeah, I'm agreeing. I think it's already been said. I like Unc's definition. That's that. I like Unc's definition, right? For whatever book that was he read out of, because it's kind of like thinking of a company, right? So you have you have the vision, you have a mission, and up under that you have the values. And so the values is the thing that kind of put people in line with the mission of the organization, making sure that everybody's behavior stays intact. So when I look at values, that's kind of like what it is. It is the thing that helps me to align my behavior in conjunction with what the overall mission or vision of the organization is all about. And I think that's important to discuss going into the beginning part of this conversation, because I think what we're going to find is that values, just that term values, the definition of values will be closely aligned with everything that we talk about moving forward. So the first question that I want to kind of drop in you guys' lap is, how do values influence decision making in your personal life and career?
I guess I'll go first again. Values influence decision making in your personal life. I think when you really do have a structured way of operating, right? Some people values are based on, like, this is how I operate as a man, right? Some of them are cultural or whatever the case may be, and so I'm going to make decisions, or should make decisions, that do not compromise my values, right? Because then I end up finding myself in an uncomfortable situation, because now I've drug it. Some of us, we try to teeter the line and we'll drag it as close to the lines of our values as possible. And now you find yourself in a situation to where you have to let it go, because it wasn't in line in the beginning. And you try to stay within the bounds of your values, of who you are, of how you operate. And so I think our decision making process sometimes should be based upon that first, right? I'm not going to put myself in a scenario where I will go against these things, because I know once I get there, I'm not going to move, because that's my limits. And same thing in our careers. Sometimes, some of us have been passed up on promotion opportunities or career advancement opportunities, trainings, because they went against something that was a part of our values, because a certain way of behaving, a certain way of treating people. Some of us, we don't believe in creating cliques at work. Some of us do. I don't know. And so those things sometimes causes us to shy away from the in crowd, or shy away from, going places and doing things, getting in trainings, because because of how things are ran. And if it's against my values and I can't grow there, uh, then I think there's a more important decision to make career wise. And that's just me.
All right. So for me, how do values influence decision making in your personal life and career? Well, I look at it as, all right. So I'm just going to use a value, something that I value. Something that I value is structure, right? So if I value structure, then that is going to determine or decide what type of structure is going to determine what decision I make, if that makes sense. So if I believe in structure, then if I am, let's say, if I'm well upside down in my car payment or something like that, or I'm living paycheck to paycheck, where I really wouldn't be living like that if I had a structured lifestyle. But let's say that, and I'm not trying to hit on nobody or anything like that. That just may be one area of your life that you may not be, may be an area in life where you're still working on. But when it comes to doing certain things and making decisions in my life, I'm going to be more structured. I'm going to think about the long-term effect of it. I may think about it logically. So when I'm interacting with people, I'm thinking about the structure of the relationship and how it pertains to my entire life or anything like that. So I just, that, and that's just one example of structure, or even, another could be the truth. You know what I mean? If you a person who values truth, then you probably are not a person who's going to lie or accept or want to be around other people who want to lie. If something is going on, good, bad, or indifferent, your value of truth is going to be influenced. It's going to influence your decision making, and you're probably going to end up telling the truth versus telling a lie, just because you value truth over lies.
Well, I would say that if you really live by a set of principles that you really hold close to, or like Unc said, a set of structure or a set of rules that you'll follow for yourself, that'll kind of influence your decision making, because there are certain things you can and can't do. I mean, I guess it could be a discipline thing. I have these values that I know that I can't compromise, so I can't compromise them. Job, family, whatever. I have to stick. I hate to I hate to coin this phrase because it's such a buzzword or a buzz phrase, but if you can hold yourself to a set of principles, then that's basically you being a man of value. At a core level, you walking in your walk, and you actually are not compromising anything in the process. At least that's my take on it.
I think how it influences decision making, since values stem from how you were raised and your life experiences, along with your culture and everything else. Certain people, everybody don't hold the same values. That's why you have to hold on to your own. So when it comes to family structure or time management, some people have been brought up in areas where that wasn't of the utmost importance, and it shows when they go to work, where they don't care whether you work 24 hours a day and have to have kids to do anything with. Their thing is mission, mission, mission. Whereas others say, hey, I got to make sure I'm there to tuck my kids in. I got to make sure I'm there to pick them up from school, so forth and so on. So when we look at our belief system that branches over and hinges onto our values, we say, man, there are a set of rules and guidelines that I adhere to so that I'm in right standing with this cultural belief system says. So now my values hinge on that, and I devalue myself and what I believe if I don't go by that. So when I don't think you can separate work from regular life, and if you do, you are putting on different masks, and that's why people, lose their minds, because now I have to act one way at work and then I act one way at home. And yes, I have different jobs and positions, but I shouldn't be able to lower my standards that are set by my values simply to fit in on either side.
So I like this. I'll different perspective, but somewhat the same. So if those things, what you guys just articulated, if those things be true, then what happens when my career asks me to compromise my family values, right? Because Roland, I kind of like what you just said just now. So if I have a family value that states that I am going to be present, let's just use that as an example. I am going to be present. I am going to participate with my kids' life, so forth and so on. So I can't be there at school while they're at school, obviously. So when they're off school, it's important for me to be there, when they're out of school, so I can spend as much time with them as I possibly can before they go to bed. But what happens when work says, no, we need you to stay a little late today? We got to get the job done. The job is more important right now. Need you to kind of make that a priority. What do we do? What do you do? I say it that way. What do you do when that happens? Not just rolling everybody.
I say join a union. Nah, no, but seriously, like I know where I work, the union, makes it clear they have an agreement with quote unquote management, right? So you're not gonna do no last minute overtime. Everything has to be planned out. And if there is last minute overtime, you can do it, but it's not obligated, right? That's so the union is an option, but that's also why in my explanation, I was stating sometimes it causes you to get passed over, not because you're not good at the job or better for the promotion and stuff like that, but because a lot of jobs really do want you to put them over the family, right? Put the dollar over the ones you're providing for. And so when I don't do the extra hours, when I don't do there's a chance that when promotion opportunities come up, the supervisors may recommend somebody over me. And I might still get it because favor's a thing, but those things happen when there's like, hey, these training opportunities that help with progression come about for those of us in the military, we know that becomes real important to promotions, especially when you're dealing with your semi-centralized, right? I need these points. I need these trainings. I need these classes. Well, I might be passed over because I'd rather be with my family, with my wife and kids than I'd rather be doing extra stuff, than I'd rather be doing after hour things. And so sometimes the loudest mouth, the one blowing the whistles, the one saying this ain't right, the one saying I can't do it, it's not always the first one that's looked at when it's saying, hey, I have promotion opportunities. Hey, I have these opportunities.
Go to work. Go to work. Take your hand pots to work. All right. Here's what I mean by that. So I don't think that one has anything to do with the other. I think that I can still have a value that I want to be around my family and spend time with my money. Also, spend time with my money. Out of the abundance of the mouth.
Okay, Scrooge McDuck.
Right. I'm gonna say now he just said it all. We know his full explanation.
Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks, right? No. I think, if I have a value that I want to be, I want to be around my family more and stuff like this. I also have to understand that I have to provide for my family as well too. So I think there is a balance in there. I also think that, if I am at a job and I'm not allowed to spend time the amount of time with my family that I want to, even though that's my value. I don't think that takes away from me still valuing wanting to be with my family. What I think is that I have obligations, right? I have to put food on the table, have to provide a certain type of lifestyle. So I would say that if you're finding, if I was in that situation, then I think that the best thing to do is start working towards getting another job, talking to somebody, working on yourself, figuring out how to move forward to where you can get that time with your family. Because if you really value that time with your family, then sometimes you may have to take a step back in order to take 2 steps forward. Like for me, when I was going through my divorce and stuff like this, my ex-wife had told me that, I was working at NC State then, and my ex-wife had told me that she was staying in Raleigh. So I was like, well, I want to be around my kids. And she was like, well, I'm staying in Raleigh even after the divorce. So I was like, well, how am I going to be around my kids? So the Army said, well, if you volunteer for Korea, you can have your choice of duty station after. So I volunteered for Korea. I took a step back. I had to be away from my sons for the entire year. But when I came back, I was an hour away. So I still valued my family and being around them, but I ended up having to make a decision that, like I said, I took 1 step back, but I ended up taking 2 or 3 steps forward. So I don't think that it necessarily has to do with just because you are working that you're automatically choosing work over valuing your family. I think sometimes we're just in situations and we have to make what we think is the best decision at that time.
Well, since I'm the only one without all of the extras, I guess I'll just speak hypothetically. If something were to come up where I would have to compromise that family value of being around my family, I would talk to my valued counsel, which is my wife and my kids. I would say, hey, there's this project that they got to do at work. I might be gone for a little longer than normal, but that does not mean I don't love you. It just means that I have to take care of this so that way I have more time with you. Have a conversation. Everything doesn't have to be doom and gloom and the world is going to end just because a new project came up or your supervisor asked you to stay over for a couple of hours. Just have the conversation. I'm pretty sure they'll be okay because they know I'm coming home. Just have a conversation. But that's just me. That's my utopian mindset.
I'm with you, Chris, because I think that when we talk about values as in time is none of ours. We get what we get. So we can say what we want to do. And when it comes to spending time with family and all of these things, sometimes you have to realize the job that you took. So if it's like us, most of us on here, we were in the military. So we didn't dictate time for the most part of our careers. It was dictated to us. So that's where it's a teaching lesson for the family. Now you can say, hey, it's I can be here now, but sometimes I may have to work. I may have duty. I may be called to go overseas. I may deploy. And you have that conversation so that the importance of the value is still there. So when we do get it, we make sure we honor it. And you're not doing away with it, but what you're doing is saying that things come up in life. Life is not like you can just say, okay, shake it up like one of them little snow globes, and it's going to stay in that little box or whatever it is. And it is what it is. No, life happens to most of us. So when we're looking at things to do, I think values kind of hinge on that, because I'm not devaluing. I don't think you devalue anything when it comes to your workplace. Now, if you devalue your family position and you're acting outside of the norm of the family values or something like that, now you're disrespecting the union. You're doing things of that sort. that's different from time management.
Yeah, I'm definitely agreeing with everybody here. I get it. Again, I got what you're saying about the union, but we're in the South, bro. Ain't no union in the South. But
I got
but
one. You know what I'm saying?
well, of course you do, yeah. But however, I think the accurate thing to do is have a conversation, have conversations about what the current situation is. I think it's also important that you have conversations before it become a problem, right? Sometimes we need to have conversations about the possibilities, the what if, the hypotheticals, and then also in the midst of having that conversation, you also make sure that you share the concept or the idea that this is not going to become the norm. This is just a case by case basis based upon the number of throughput or whatever that looks like. So I think it's important, like Chris said, to have the conversation, get ahead of it. It's not a thing. I don't think it's a thing of family. I don't think it's a thing of values. I think it's a thing of just integrity. Just have the conversation and put it out there. Now, if you just stay at work, right? If you just stay at work and don't say nothing about it, now we got a problem because where you been? And I'm joking. But yeah, that happens, right? We got a great question I want to bring to the stage, and I think you guys are probably going to knock this one out of the park real quick. How do you separate beliefs from values in this day and time without jeopardizing your integrity of your values?
I think beliefs enforce values. Beliefs are those things that you hold to be true, whether it's spiritual, whether it's like I grew up, like some of us that grew up north, we have a certain belief system that this is how things work. Or if you are in a family system where the man was the bread earner and now you have daughters and you say, hey, the man is supposed to do that, roles and things of that sort. Now, values can be the family structure, but the beliefs are, well, I believe you should do this. And no belief is built on simply fact, because I can believe that the moon is really red when it's not, because I've been taught that and I believe that, and in my culture it says that. Whereas my values say, because I believe this, this is how I move. That's how I see it.
I think he spoke on the separating beliefs from values. But when we talk about jeopardizing your integrity or the integrity of your values, I don't know. I'm different, I guess. I just pick your square and stand on it, man. I think too much we're afraid of what's going to happen. Like we have to be better life managers, right? Um, I think when we get in a position to where I need this relationship or I need this job not to die and be homeless, or I need this and I need this, we're not really good life managers, right? And some of us, sacrificed 20 years in the military to be able to say, I don't need this job. I got a check coming in, I can pay the bills. Now I can't do everything I want to do unless I have a job, you know what I mean? But but at the same token, of a lot of us have learned, because of that, we've learned the importance to teaching younger people to be better life managers, to be able to set themselves up to where their life don't hinge on someone else's decision or someone else's beliefs or values, right? So that's why I'm at. Pick your square and stand on it, and trust that the Most High is gonna bring it together.
I think there's a part of the question where I kind of want to dive into. She said, in this day and time where everybody can believe what they want and everybody can value what they want. How I separate it is, my belief is, where Roland says, something that I have come to think that is true. My values are a set of principles that I have to follow. My life, that set of rules for my life, basically. I just have to follow my rules and quit trying to put my rules and my beliefs on everybody else. I just follow my rules. As long as I am not jeopardizing the integrity of my values and I ain't hurting nobody and I ain't breaking no laws, I should be okay. Believe what you want, value what you want. Just don't try to impose your said beliefs and your said values on other people. Gotta sort them out.
So I'm listening to all this now, and this makes me ask a question, and I want everybody's response on this. Do beliefs drive values, or do values drive beliefs?
I think beliefs drive values.
Okay.
I
No, let somebody else go.
My bad. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to get to it.
I would say beliefs drive values because your belief system tends to grow your values or build your values. That makes you find out what you actually value.
Okay.
I think values. I'm going with values first.
Okay.
Values for 200.
Values, yeah, determine our beliefs. Yeah,
Wouldn't you have to have a belief to come up with a set of values? Or would you have to have a set of values to come up with a core belief because you have those values? See, this is one of those questions that I don't think you can answer wrong. Like, I don't think there's any wrong answer to this question.
Precisely. There is no wrong answer.
Yeah, but I think based off of this conversation, I think we can kind of all come to the conclusion that you cannot have one without the other.
Now, here's the thing I want, and I asked that for a reason, and here's why. Because you can have a set of beliefs, right, based upon whoever you are, wherever you came from, how you were raised, whatever that looks like. But your beliefs are based upon, it's just that, until you encounter a set of values that make you elevate your beliefs. So beliefs in some sense, in some instances, do drive values. The way I was raised, these are the things that we value. And then when I go to a different location and I encounter a different set of concepts, ideas, beliefs, norms, whatever that looks like, then the values that they have established that make me do the thing that I'm supposed to do within that organization, that drives a higher set of values for me. So now that value now challenges my current set of beliefs. This is why you hear people like us talk about limiting belief systems, because a lot of us was raised in situations, environments, under a particular education system that gave you a limiting belief system. Therefore, that limiting belief system drove a set of values for you. And unfortunately, a lot of us did not value ourselves enough. So once we start getting challenged to a higher perspective, now we can elevate that belief system based upon the values that were presented. For all of my soldiers, right? Past, present, future, whatever that looks like, right? You have the Army, and the structure is Army ethics, right? And then under Army ethics, you have the pillars, the 5 pillars. One of them is trust, esprit de corps, steward the profession, so forth and so on. And then up under that is the Army values. And the Army values is the thing that you counsel everybody on. So you're really counseling people on their behavior as it equates to what Army set of ethics look like. Well, the same thing is, it exists the same way in every organization. I don't care what you go to. When you look at your performance evaluation is based upon your behavior. Your behavior stems from from your belief system, which identify the things that you value. So again, they keep leapfrogging one another until you keep growing and elevating, so forth and so on. So that's my perspective. Unky, look like you got something, bro. What you got?
I've been, ever since this first question came up, I've just been over here thinking and trying to unwrap it as much as possible. And it's kind of a struggle, you know what I mean? Because it's a lot. It may not seem like to some people, but for me, it's like, not necessarily splitting hairs, but they're so closely connected that I'm really trying to find the root of where they kind of split or kind of how they're separate. So I was just looking at, I got a whole page full of values, and then I was just looking at the one like truth, right? So if my value is truth, then I believe that everybody should tell the truth, right? So, but like we were saying, it's almost chicken and egg. So, do I value truth because Charlotte Ann, shout out to you, I saw you in the comments, because Charlotte Ann taught us that we were supposed to tell the truth. So we were taught to be, and now, you know, growing up, I believe that we were always supposed to tell the truth. But now that I'm older, it's like it's a conscious thing. It's like I value the truth. I value the relationships. When I'm talking and have a conversation with Chris, and when he tells me something, he's going to be truthful for it with it. When I'm talking to Roland, he's going to be truthful and upfront with me. The same thing with Gad, and the same thing with Coach or anybody I talk to. So it's just making me just think more. And I don't really have a question or anything. Just kind of sort of what was mumbling around and fumbling around in my head.
Yeah. No, I like that. And I'm agreeing with you. It can be, you know, kind of like, well, which way do I lean? Right. It's easy to get there. But given your scenario, I love it because ideally most of us are raised that the truth should be held in high esteem. And we should present ourselves in that manner. We should speak the truth. And that being said, it goes from a perspective to where it's like something we think about on a constant basis to it just become a part of our character. Once it becomes a part of our character, then it's a subconscious thing now. So now I just speak the truth just because, right? If you ask me, well, do you like how I look in that dress? No. And then you get mad at me because I spoke the truth. You see what I'm saying? But that's just, you ask me a question, I'm supposed to give you an answer, right? So I think that's kind of like the idea, the notion, right? You practice a thing until it becomes secondary and then it becomes subconscious. Originally, I did it because that's what my mom taught me to do. Now I do it because I know it's the right thing to do and who I am in relationship with ultimately, right? So it's no longer because my mama taught me, she began the process, but it's identifying who I really belong to and who I am through that person. And that's kind of like what I mean when I say they can be interchangeable. It depends upon how it comes to you and what elevates you from that perspective. And I think that's a great question. So thank you for that, Miss Verlene McCoy, Queen B. And I hope we answered that question. I love Chris's perspective on that question, right? Because again, in this day and age, like subjectivity is the new truth. So you can't tell me that how I feel is wrong. You can't tell me that, my experiences aren't facts. Or you can't tell me that my experiences aren't reality, stuff like that. So anyway, moving forward, let's move on to the art of balance and boundaries. One of my favorite sections, by the way. Okay, first question here is, how do you determine the right balance between work, family, and spiritual life? And what role does prayer and meditation play in this process?
Ooh, balance. I don't know that you separate them instead of dealing with. I think they all kind of go together. I think for me, work was always something like, okay, if I don't have that job, I can get another job. I can do something else. Family to me was family. So I had to hold family more dear than I did work. But family, spiritual life, and all of those things, they hinge on one another because they're building blocks to be a better unit. So if I'm trying to have this family unit have some structure, then I bring the spiritual unit into it. I bring the meditation and prayer as a whole, not just for me, because if I'm just doing it, that means I'm just building me up. I'm thinking about myself. But if I add it to the family structure now, how the family unit views it or values it, now it becomes of utmost importance versus, because not a work thing, the work thing is going to reflect the home life. So, and that's how I see that.
Well, first, if we're talking work, family, and spiritual, and we have a family, I don't determine anything by myself. I have a conversation with my family. Listen, man, listen, I understand that we're speaking as men, and men are supposed to be the head, and men are legally responsible for everything according to the state. but you got value counsel that got to say so too. How about have a conversation with her and then talk to the kids together after you and your wife come to a consensus that you both can agree on that ain't going to make each other miserable. Just listen, man. I don't understand how communication and comprehension became so low on the totem pole when it comes to dealing with stuff like this. Why is everybody so afraid to talk to each other? Like, come on, man. Have a conversation. Jeez, you know what?
Because people don't want to be offended.
Listen, I
People don't
said
want
this,
to hurt people's feelings.
man. I said this before, Unc. We have to get over that because just to talk runs the risk of being offensive. So why not be honest, especially when we talking about family, the one group of people that you were supposed to be honest with.
Everybody don't want the truth. Can Coach really say when someone says, "Hey, do this dress make me look fat?" Can Coach really say yes? You know what I mean?
I would say
Without
yes.
repercussions. It ain't the dress that make you fat. It's the fat that makes you fat. Don't blame it on the dress. I am not trying to be funny. If you are triggered,
but when people try to ask you a question, when somebody asks you a question about how they see themselves, they putting the onus on you to make them feel better.
Yeah,
that's not my responsibility.
That ain't my job.
About where you are, you know, if that dress is a little too, whatever. But if you ask me a question, I'm gonna give you an answer, and I'm not gonna sugarcoat it because you've asked my opinion. And if you want me to tell you what you want to hear, give me that too.
That's
man,
where
we talking family. We talking family, man. And family is supposed to be the one place where you're supposed to be honest, man. So why not just have the conversation and be honest with the people that you love and that's under your covering?
Because
be honest, man.
Don't people want and don't most women want an honest man?
I'm not doing this tonight.
Salt on it.
I'm not doing this tonight, man. You see, I haven't gotten animated. I haven't raised my voice. Y'all
Coach said we need to bring up the energy. So let's bring up the energy. Let's pour some more salt on it.
Go ahead, Twame. I'm muting my mic. They baiting me. I'm muting my mic. Go ahead, Twame.
What's Twame going next?
Nah, I'm good. I got a short memory. I don't even know what I was about to say. No, we good.
Well, I'll go. How do you determine the right balance? Well, first of all, I think you have to prioritize what is important in your life, right? What is of these things right here, what is most important to you? All right, so let's say for this situation, I'm going to say my spiritual life is first, and then my family life is second, and then my work life is third. All right, now I got my order of march. So I have to make sure that I spend time, first of all, in my spiritual life, because that's what I prioritize, right? So when it comes to balance, you have to make sure that everything gets time. If you're working long hours and where you at right now, you have to work a 12-hour shift, then you have to figure out how you can incorporate your spiritual life so you don't miss out. Whether if you're on the road or you're doing this or that, when you go on your break, maybe meditate, maybe pray, maybe read your Bible if that's what you're into. You know what I mean? Call your kids on FaceTime or something like that. You can still get a lot of these things. Sometimes you can kind of double dip and kind of do two things at once. You know what I mean? But I think how you figure out the right balance is, first of all, you have to prioritize, what things, what comes first, what comes second, and what comes third in your life. And then as far as the meditation and the prayer comes, for me, that's where you get your answers, right? That's when Chris say, sometimes we need to sit down and shut up. Well, that's what the meditation and the prayer is for. Like, the meditation allows you to sit there and listen and be aware of the surroundings. And that's a lot of times when the answers come, when you're listening, when you intently or purposely listening. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of people, they just go and they just pray, but they never sit down and listen. They never wait for the answer. They're just always expecting for it to come in some form of miracle or something like that. A lot of times we get the answers, but we ain't in a place to hear it because we won't sit down, shut up, and be quiet. Yeah, shut up and be quiet at the same time, but same thing. But sometimes we need to do both. That's my 2 cents.
But if we go back, my bad.
No, go ahead.
Now I was just cause so if we go back to what we said before, and we go right there, if I said, and I'm just talking about just on the listen part. If I can't set boundaries at work on my hours, I ain't got time sometimes to listen. All I got time for is prayer. As soon as I get home, everybody sleep. And I'm going back to, and I know I'm going back to it. It's not to be petty, but I'm just breaking it up. But and then once I get home and it's time to go to sleep because I got to get up and get right back in because I'm working these crazy hours. You know, some people when your life is just constant move, you can't hear because you half the time your head is already talking because you're trying to prepare yourself for what's coming on at work. And so for some people, prayer is barely what they even got time for. And so I think these boundaries have to be set at work too, because that's going to affect everything else. If I can't have boundaries at my workplace as far as when I can work, how many hours I'm actually willing to do, that's within reason, right? Because I'm not going to say I'm going to work under 40-hour weeks. That's just crazy. All right. But, that's within reason because I need to set a boundary. I need to set a balanced life. So I need all of this to work together. So I can't say have a healthy balance here, have a healthy open communication here, have a healthy meditation and listening time, but also not be able to set boundaries at my workplace. And I'm just talking about specifically on the timepiece, right? So that I got to be able to put all of that together. So I have to have a place to where I can say, hey, these hours are not going to work for me. And I get it. Sometimes you might have a job where there might be a project to where, and I know someone brought that up to where it might be temporary, but some employers require you to put the company over your personal life, over your family. And if that's the case, just like we talked about the military, but this is why we have such an extremely high divorce rate, because it's not, that lifestyle is not built for family. It gets rough and you lose balance.
But the reality of it is a business is what a business is. They're there to make money. They're not there to care about your child going to daycare, your child sick. I'm just being honest. I know we don't like it, but when we sign up to go and work for these places, we sign up to abide by their rules. And if I was a business owner, I was in the military for 20 years, and now I'm an educator. I work in the school system, and man, I see the difference. I mean, where I work right now, people can look. I'm just being transparent, right?
Oh shoot!
Right. So when I was in the Army, I had to put how long we had to put in leave for? Sometime up to 21 days, right? So you think about it. You had to plan if you wanted to be off for work. Right now, I can text my boss tomorrow morning at 7:30 and tell him I'm not coming in. So that's the difference. You know what I mean? And I don't know where I was going with this. I'm gonna show you.
I mean that's cool if that's the choice you make.
Oh yeah, we signed up for
it. But then that means I have to sacrifice this balance between family and work.
But if balance also doesn't necessarily mean equality, right? And I think that's very key right there. A lot of people think, okay, well, I got three things, so I gotta give everything 33.33333%. No, balance means that everybody is getting what they need. You know what I'm saying?
But if there's no, if I'm saying that I can't put a boundary at work, then maybe home doesn't get what they need. I can't dictate to my family what they need.
And that's when we have to start. That's when you get the whole 2 steps, 1 step back and 2 steps forward. Sometimes you may have to sacrifice a little bit of that in order to get where you want to go. That means you had to take some night school or drive some Uber to make some extra money or something like that, or take a less paying job. And I know we don't like to do these things, but sometimes we're in jobs and we shouldn't be in them, and it's costing us our families.
That's
You know
the
what I
answer.
mean?
That's the answer right there. I think right now the issue is like, and I'm listening to everybody's perspective, and I think everybody's perspective is not only value added, but it is really speaking into somebody's life who is actually listening. That's what I really believe. And I think a lot of times we are so afraid of walking away from a job because we got into the bad relationship. That's what that means. We got into a relationship with a company, and that company, and we're not in relationship together. I'm in relationship with you. And so if at the end of the day, now I want to speak on both ends of this. At the end of the day, if you are robbing me of my family, then my family has to take priority. If my family doesn't take priority, that speaks a lot about me. On the other hand, I also agree with Uncle Junior. I'm running an organization. I don't have time to worry about your family. That's not my job. I hired an adult. That's your responsibility. You need to make proper arrangements. If it's between the hours of 8 and 5, you need to make sure that you have proper arrangements for that to happen. Now, don't get me wrong. There's some company who's going above and beyond. We got on-site daycare. Listen, that is a luxury. That's not their responsibility to do, right? So for those people who work for those companies, 2 thumbs up. Great. That's awesome. But for everybody else who is still working for a traditional company, right? Your family is not their responsibility. They appreciate the fact that your family exists because that's an extension of you. And at the end of the day, they kind of want you to, be okay with both. Like the Army used to say, what is it? Duty first, family always. I mean, I'm just saying. I was field artillery. It was duty first, duty first. That's really what the truth was. And Roland was with me. He know duty first. Family, you'll get the leftovers.
When you
I would go
can.
to. Yeah,
They said family always, but we knew.
yeah, we knew. I go to work at 5 and sometimes get off at 7.
Or 8 or 9.
Yeah.
Dark. Yeah.
And,
And if
I
you
think-
didn't, and you wasn't a team player, you wasn't gonna get
Oh,
promoted.
man.
You
Well,
know what I mean? That stuff was drilled in. We know how it is.
mhm.
But I think also because I had another leader teach me, if it can't get done between these hours, it'll be there tomorrow.
Yeah.
So go home. And I learned that, like, hold up, he's right. It's gonna be here tomorrow. Why am I taking away from my family? Because if I let that be the most important thing to me, now it becomes my God. It becomes my everything. Were they making a check for me? Like when I was getting out of the military, it was a sense of fear because I'm like, man, I got to make this amount of money. But I say, okay, if I got to work 3 jobs to make this amount of money, that's what I got to do because I got to take care of my family. The job, and everybody here know we were in leadership positions where I used to tell my soldiers when they would come straight from training, I said, hey, when the military is done with you, they don't care. They done with you.
Second-rate citizen.
Yeah, they done. So once and y'all know when we switched over them ID cards, back of the line.
Yes, sir.
So I couldn't even come on post for certain things. So
And I think it's important to say that there are things that are time sensitive. So and that has to be understood. And I do believe that there is a sense of, and I don't want to sound like I'm just harshly disagreeing. There is a sense of sometimes there's things that have to be done at a timely manner. If you're talking about military, you're right. I learned that in this one. If it can't get done in between these hours, now, just because you're a poor time manager at work, don't mean it can't get done. It just means you're a poor time manager at work.
but don't make it the norm.
But don't make exactly, but there are certain things like if and deployed soldiers understand what I'm talking about. Sometimes the railhead got to be done by this day, and if these vehicles ain't on by tonight, that's somebody's tale. So so there's some things that's time sensitive.
Yeah, something we can't control. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I mean, like I say, how many of us can pull 24-hour staff duty in CQ? You know what I'm saying? Bro, 24-hour duty, Chris. 24 hours. You got to stay awake the entire time.
But the key is we didn't spring it on our family. We told them
Yeah.
about it well in advance. So
Yeah,
they
it
knew.
was a roster. He knew about.
Once
You
you
know about.
found out.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It sounds to me that in doing all of this, and I say this all the time too, we might have to take a L.
Yeah.
We might have to take a L. I'm going to speak on the civilian side because I've never served a single second in the military. I've had jobs that have attempted to compromise my values along with the time that I needed with my family just to get a job done when it was going to be there tomorrow. And I politely gave them my notice that day and left. It is what it is, man. Take the L. Like, I know it's scary because you're used to getting that paycheck every week or every 2 weeks. I know it's scary, but you know deep in your gut, you know what you're doing ain't right. You know deep in your gut, you know what you're doing is compromising the things that you said that you would never compromise. You know the things that you were doing are disrupting your family home. Say something, and if something doesn't change, take the L. And that's me speaking, and since we're speaking as men, that's me speaking as a man, because a lot of us don't know how to take a L.
And sometimes, let's be honest, sometimes we put ourselves in situations where we can't take an L. I've been in that situation before too.
Yeah,
When I was a civilian, where I worked, and then been there for a couple of years. I was only out for 3 years, but I worked in a couple of years. I'll start making a little more money, extra couple dollars an hour. So when you go from $9 to $11, that's a lot.
Yeah, back then that was a jump.
Yeah, right. So you make extra $2 an hour, and then stuff going on at work, and you don't want to be there no more. But you know that if you quit, you got to go back to $9 an hour. You ain't going back to $11. You've been used to living at $11, and now you've extended yourself off of this $11 an hour, and you're living paycheck to paycheck. And now you can't afford to go back to the $9 an hour job. So sometimes we feel, there's that fear of I can't go back. Because like I said, I was in this situation before when I was out of the military for the 3 years, and it is a very uncomfortable feeling. And I chose to not take the L and stay on my job. But eventually I was like, man, I'm getting out of this. I'm going back to the military. And I went back into the military. So
Outstanding.
What was that?
It wasn't me, I promise. All right. Listen, we're going to keep it rolling here, right? So we're going to move into to effective time management, because I think this is important. Listen, if you're out there in the airways, regardless of what platform, make sure that you hit that like button. And again, if you're listening to this conversation, you hear what these brothers are sharing, go ahead and share it with somebody else who you think can benefit from understanding how to exercise these principles. So under the practice, the effective time management, we're going to drop down to the second question. How do you handle unexpected demands of your time without compromising your commitment to family and personal or spiritual growth? This is not just specifically a job.
You talk to your family. I'm going to say this until I'm blue in the face. Talk to your family. If something unexpected happens and it's important, have the conversation with your value counsel. Seriously. I mean, isn't that what family is supposed to be about? You're supposed to be able to talk to each other and be honest.
So let's steer it in another direction. What if it would include, with the decision that you make, what if it included them? Like the unexpected demand may have came from the family. Let's change the dynamics of it.
You still have the conversation. You still got, hey man, what's this about? Come on, man. Like, what's this about? I already have this set out. We've already agreed on this, and now you want to spring this on me? What's this about? And if it's legit, go ahead, Roland. Go ahead.
Life happens sometimes. Like my daughter, when she had surgeries on her feet, so there were times where I had to go to San Antonio and take her to San Antonio. So the compromise was, okay, I got to do this, but I still got work to do. So I may have to come home and burn the midnight oil at work, whereas if I was here, I wouldn't have to. So I may have to adjust fire on this end. I may have to adjust my time frame on this end so that I can make mission still, because I still have two entities that I'm accountable to. So I got to make sure both happen. And I don't want to let one fall simply because I had a mishap or something happened over here. So that's where you plan. And you have a conversation with family, you have a conversation with your job, and if people know you and your work ethic and your track record, they will be able to say, okay, I know no matter what, he's going to get it done. And they may oblige that as well as give you assistance.
It all starts with you opening your mouth and saying something. You know what? I'm sorry. I'm muting my mic.
I got short-term memory. I don't remember what I was about to say. I told y'all that last time. Yeah.
Come on. You know what? I'm sorry, Tuame. My apologies.
You good.
My apologies. I didn't know you were going to go. I'm muting my mic.
My bad. You good.
Write it down next time.
I'm rubbing off on you.
Oh my goodness.
I can't get off of what Chris said. Having effective communication with all the stakeholders is important, and sometimes the conversation ain't going to go how you want it to go. You know what I mean? And that's to be expected because, if you have a commitment, let's say something like, shoot, I was supposed to go to my cousin's wedding, but I had a military obligation and I couldn't go. So I was like, hey, cuz, well, I can't go. You know what I mean? So it sucks, but, and that was for the job. But just, like Coach said, even with family and stuff like that, there are things that come up. Sometimes people get sick. Sometimes people need transportation somewhere. Sometimes, somebody need a ride somewhere. So a lot of things come up. So at the end of the day, like I can't get past the fact that you have to have open communication to let the parties and the stakeholders that are involved know what's going on. You have to be transparent because folks take little Johnny to the football game and
so
you gotta go do something else, bro.
So it really sounds like you guys are saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Like it seems from question to question, it seems like you're saying the same thing. Even with the scenario, right? If I give a scenario, let's just say, what's the most, I don't know, difficult scenario? Say you and your spouse had a plan to do something, right? Whether it's to go out on a date night or whether it's to go shopping, whatever that looks like, right? And then all of a sudden your child come home and then they say, hey, I forgot to tell you that we got a engagement at school tonight. And it's like an extra like football, basketball, something of that nature. I don't know. Right. I'm making it up as I go along. So y'all just humor me for a second, right? And I forgot to tell you that we got, a game tonight, practice, whatever. I need you to take me to practice. Right.
Senior night and football game.
There we go. Senior night and football game. I forgot to tell you about that. But you and your wife had plans. Like, what do you do? Do we just say, hey, honey, we're scratching the plans and we're going over here to do what our child just told us that we're going to do? Or what does that look like?
I think I kind of remember what I was about to say. So thank you for that question. So here's the thing. Man, I don't want to get kicked off the panel. So sometimes certain people of certain persuasions or genders like to double plan and overextend sometimes, and so I think when we're at that point where Chris is like, have the conversation, a part of that conversation needs to be, hey, we're not going to overextend ourselves. We know TJ got this football game and his homecoming, and we said we was going to support, so let's not I hear you, dude. Let's not go ahead and plan a date night for 2 hours right before the football game if we plan on going to the football game. And so sometimes we get to overextend our time, and there's certain people that like to do that because I had this plan. And so exactly, build a calendar. but that's part of the communication process, right? Building that calendar, having this conversation. Don't overextend. And sometimes as men, we have to be willing to say, hey, we're not gonna be able to do it. Let's reschedule that date night. But it's the only time we really have time. All right, then don't go to the football game. Well, we can't leave. Well, we got to choose one. Somebody has to be the one that says we have to choose one. I think we have to learn how to really just stand our ground in all aspects of our lives when it comes to time management. You cannot overextend yourself. And and some people do it a lot because some of us are conditioned to be people pleasers, and that's cool. But we, after a while, when burnout hit, people's gonna ask, when did you turn mean? When did you become such an angry person? No, I'm just tired. I'm burned out. I'm overextending myself all the time. I hate being late, so don't tell me to book a date night and a football game at the same night because one of them gonna get shot. I hate showing up to anything late. So
which one get shot? Which one we shooting?
I'm going to the game.
The
I'm
football
sorry.
game is the date. Sure.
Senior,
Hey,
exactly.
Game.
Come on, man. Senior
get
night.
hot dogs and sit down.
Exactly. I'll get you a little hot
Hey.
dog and some nachos from the little stand over there. Let's donate to the
gonna
boosters.
be
and
mad.
Let's watch our son play this game.
I'm gonna be
so
mad.
Hey, I'm so disappointed in y'all.
I'm going to the game.
I'm going
No,
to the game.
you're gonna miss that game. I'm sorry. You just not telling me about it. We going on our date. Stay home.
The
sorry, I
only
can't do
reason
that.
I'm going to the game is because it's senior night.
It's senior night.
And I
man.
have to walk on the field. That is the only reason. Had it not been
Come on,
senior
man.
night,
I have no responsibility to the memories you're trying to make if you can't take responsibility of those memories first. If you just now
Another
telling
guy.
me about it,
I
on
understand
night,
that.
No, it's not
but
happening.
that's why I started off with saying, like, when Chris says have the conversation, that's a part of the conversation. Hey, but I think we should do a date night, because let's not act like date night don't get thrown on us sometime too.
What?
Because I know we like to think we all can set aside every Thursday or every third Friday for a date night. Some of them have to be sporadic because our schedules, right? But let's not act like sometimes, oh, since you got time, I think we should remember the football game.
But why can't we do, like somebody said, why can't we do both? Why can't we just say, okay, we gonna do this halftime thing, and after that, see you at the house? Because
we just missed a very valuable opportunity to teach our child a lesson that's going to last a lifetime. That's why.
It's called accountability. I completely understand where coach is coming from.
So were you saying that the kid told you just
Yes.
now? Or
That was a
I was
scenario.
Oh, the kid told you last
Yeah, the
minute.
child
was
came and
thinking
told
that
us at the last
that
minute.
the father forgot.
No.
Oh,
Nah, the kid came last minute and said it's senior night. I'm sorry.
oh, okay.
Your piss poor management don't make an emergency for me.
Right.
Yeah.
So
And last time I checked,
But I
we
get it.
the adults.
see,
But
that,
I don't know.
I thought
They
the
got-
father forgot.
They got
No.
apps
Yeah.
now. They got apps nowadays. So I get everything
exactly.
My
I mean-
school does
Yeah,
get
you
come
gotta
from
go
my
come out
email
there.
or text message.
I mean,
so,
I'm with you there now.
So we're turning parenting into a job now. We got apps, we got calendars, we got whatever happened to
Yeah.
old-fashioned household conversation.
That's what
That
Chris
too,
said.
but-
Have a conversation.
I'm just saying.
I
No,
would.
I'm-
That does seem
It
like a
ain't no
good
wrong
idea, though.
answer.
Yeah, that
It's
never
does
wrong.
seem like a good idea, though. What I probably would do now that we're having this conversation when I have a family is probably get like a group Gmail account and everybody put their important dates in there so everybody's phone go off when it's time to do something, because
Hey,
everybody
we talked
is
about
so consumed with their time and everybody is so
come on.
quote unquote busy that, you know what I'm saying, we think that we
I ain't
In
doing that either.
theory. In theory.
I ain't
in
doing that
theory,
either.
yeah,
In
I would do something like that just because of the organization piece. And I'm
Yeah,
forgetful
hey,
to it. Y'all
you-
forget.
you-
I
I
smoke
see
a lot
you
of
and
weed,
Ro-
so I forget a lot.
Here's why I won't do it. Because again, I'm robbing you of the opportunity of having conversation with me.
Yeah, and you
If I give you an out and say, hey, put it on the calendar, and you're gonna put it on the calendar and say, Dad, you see my calendar invite? Yeah, I got it, son. Okay, bye. And that's it. Well, why can't we just, sit down and have a conversation about it? You tell me, say, hey, Dad, we got this football game coming up. It's senior night, you know what I'm saying? Can we do that? Okay. Now we just had a conversation, male bonding moment. Me and the wife, we're gonna have a conversation about I want her to go too, right? So I want to include her in with it. So we going to senior night with our child. But I think too many times we depend on these things right here to parent for us.
So here's where we lost out, right? Because a lot of our time, you're right. If you work a traditional job, right now by law, since you have to, it's sad that I say it like this. Since by law now you got to have a lunch break. It's 9-hour work days now, and so time management a lot of times for us is dictated by our occupation, and I get it, but we have robbed our families of family dinners. we both out at work. We ain't got time, so we grabbing something on the way home and all this other stuff. So that idea of see, because I think family communication is more than me just saying, "Hey, we need to have a conversation. Something's coming up." Like it needs to be a conditioned mindset. And if we had dinners together, if we ate together at least twice a week, that idea of us talking, building that relationship, because our relationship with our children are really at this point, with everything speaking for us, is really just we only talk when I tell you to clean your room.
Right.
We only
I'm cool
talk
with
when I
that,
tell
Gaddy.
you.
But that's a different scenario. In this scenario, I'm what the psychiatrists call a butthole. So if you come to me with some mess, talking about something that you expect me to jump out of hoops to do, and you didn't tell me to do it, I'm automatically shutting it down because I'm not teaching you anything by giving you something when you do it. Now, when you sad, mad because I ain't coming, I ain't there, I already got plans. Now you think about, oh, I got to make sure I tell him ahead of time because he's stern when it comes to this. Because if I give it, as you give a inch, he gonna take a mile. You give him a rope, he want to be a cowboy. So you got to make sure that at the end of the day, they value your time too.
But I think we have to be that now because we haven't built a culture in our homes for us to talk to our kids. It's a chore for them to talk to us because we don't talk to them. And when we at home, we busy or we're tired, so they on their TV, tablets, or games or whatever talking. So now I have to come off like that to make you talk to me.
See, I think it looks both. I think what you're
Report
saying,
all them TVs and tablets.
right? I think
kids.
I think it goes both ways, right? Like you said, it's a chore for them to talk to me because my time is this and I got this going on, I got that going on, whatever the case may be. But last I checked, and I'm not going against anything you're saying, I'm just adding a different perspective. Communication is a two-way street, right? And at the end of the day, if you want communication to happen, we do it first. So in essence, we make the effort to talk to our kids, but by that same token, there should be an opportunity, an open door for them to talk to us as well. So we have the ability to communicate, not just me talking to you. And I think a lot of times, especially us older generation folk, we do a lot of talking to, but not a whole lot of communicating, right? And so that's one of the biggest mistakes when it comes down to communication is that we think it actually happened when it never did. So we'll say a thing and then did you hear me? Did you hear me? And they'll be like, yeah, I heard you. But the whole time you're talking to them, they're like this right here, right? So we don't necessarily, like you mentioned, Gaddy, the culture of communication in the house has to happen. That's why I'm not a fan of putting it on the calendar, using all the electrons to connect with me. And I don't want to do that. We need to be personable, right? Because it's not only that I don't want you, it's not that I don't want you to not go. I really want you to go. But there's a higher lesson that needs to be taught. And it's the art of communication. Why? Because it doesn't matter what you do when you leave this house, you're going to always have to communicate. And unfortunately, if you pay close attention, that's one of the things that we're struggling with collectively as a society. Even, and I'm just going to throw this out there, and I might get some flack, but that's okay. I got enough girth, I can handle it. Even with mumble rap, I don't even know what that is. I don't even know what they're saying. I'm like, you know what I'm saying? Now, again, it's not that because I can't learn to hear it, but it's just that I don't, you know what I'm saying? And when you listen to your kids talk, a lot of them talk just like that now. So again, we have to get down to the point of having them to clearly articulate the thoughts that are in their head. Why? Because anytime you go sit at an interview, you're going to have to articulate the answer to the interview panel, right? You're going to have to present yourself in a respectable manner, if you will, or try to be the 1% of the 1% of the 1% that make it to the National League, the major leagues, or whatever other league there is out there. Just my thoughts. So, I think we might have time for one more question before we close this out. Let's go with cultivating strong relationships. You know what? Let's you guys give us a strategy. Let's jump on the strategy question, right? The second question: what strategies do you employ to connect and repair? what strategies do you employ to reconnect or repair relationships when conflict arises?
I've been saying this all night.
I said that from the beginning. You were going to, but that's okay.
You have the conversation. It's gonna be awkward. You're not gonna know what you're not gonna know what you want to say. You might mess around and fight again, but extend the olive branch. Now, if they step on the branch, you know where you stand. Take the L. But have the conversation at least. You understand what I'm saying? That should be a value. Say something. It's not listen, man. Say something. It's better to say something than to not say something and then not have the chance to say something when you could have said something. So okay. All right.
So I'm going totally opposite of what Chris said. What I said early. Shut my mouth. Sit down. All right. So I will tell you this. Unc grew up a little bit different, and over time I have evolved as a man. And I no longer think like a little boy anymore. But I have some people that I know, family and or relatives or friends, people I'm related to or have relationships with that because I have grown some, I will say that sometimes in life, right, we grow, and I don't even want to look at the comments because I don't know if Shell in there, but she get me. We grow, right? So there's me, and then there was somebody else, and then I'm growing, and I'm evolving, I'm learning more about life, and they're still staying right here. Where over time our conversation may not look the same. Whereas may have been willing to accept certain things from you and certain behaviors from you, I'm no longer willing to accept your behavior, your disrespect, and stuff like this. So for me, I have employed the art of taking a step back and giving these people some space, because I have to understand that everybody does not necessarily jive with my way of thinking and the progression or the trajectory of my life. So I've learned that if I want relationships with certain people in my family, that I need to take a step back and I need to not say and talk about or have certain conversations. Not that it's them manipulating me or the situation or me conforming to what they want. But I remember my dad told me a long time ago that if I want to have a relationship with someone, then I need to do what I need to do in order to make the relationship work. Even if it means that sometimes those people may not always act and respond the way you want them to. So if I want a relationship with my mom on here, and she may not do this or do that, then I have to be willing to sometimes take a step back. Just an example. I love my mom. She on here.
I think we have to really do a long self-evaluation before we get into relationships, and get into repairing relationships, because I think repairing and reconnecting relationships, the strategies kind of start in the beginning. And what do I mean by that? I think some of us, we don't even realize that we do things right, but we can set an environment to where someone doesn't feel, because we when you make, and I'm not talking about last conversation, so please don't think I'm being petty to my brother Ro. I'm not talking about kids at all. But because sometimes when we demand communication a certain way, we make it a chore, and it's as if communication means my perspective is coming forth, and that's what's important. And what that does, that creates an environment to where the other person feels invalued in the relationship. And so I think we really have to pay attention to how we communicate physically and and verbally, because the messages that we're sending and sending forth may have destroyed our line of communication. The reason why he or she may be quiet all the time, because every perspective they've ever given, or not ever, but every perspective they give may seem like it's pushed to the side. When communication comes across as if I'm going to tell you how this conversation is going to go all the time, or when your feelings come out and they're flipped back around. Well, you feel that way because you did this, so I made you feel that way. Now I feel as if I'm being manipulated and controlled. And so what we have to do is watch how we are in our relationships, how we communicate. And I know some of us want to be free and just fly, I just want to live, want someone that I can live with, and I don't have to watch my tongue and watch my behavior and I just want to live. But 9 times out of 10, people who speak like that are asking the other person to watch their tongue, their behavior around them. And so the environment is not conducive for communication, because you have made it clear in the relationship that you were the most important part of the relationship. And I don't think many of us pay attention to that. And so in order to repair a relationship, we have to be able to have a conversation. We have to be able to talk. My bad. Go ahead. My bad.
I think that one strategy may be to have a respected, by both parties, a respected person outside of the situation that's non-biased, actually listen in on the conversation as not just a referee, but a person that can be a voice of reason as well. Because when I may hear it a certain way because of my upbringing and my value system, whereas you didn't necessarily mean it that way, and I just tailor it to that because that's how I think. Whereas if you have someone there to help facilitate the conversation, then there can be no over talking. There can be no yelling. There can be none of that stuff, because we come with the respect of the relationship, not just with the respect of the person facilitating it. So that's just one strategy.
I am processing everything that you guys said. I think for me, I need to understand that it's not just me looking to repair this relationship. That's starters. That is for starters. I need to understand that it's not just me looking to repair this relationship. I'm agreeing with the communication piece, but I'm a little different, bro. And it's not to say that what you said is wrong. I don't want the third party. If I need a third party, that tells me a whole lot about where we are. That's how I look at it. Now, don't get me wrong. If y'all been married for 20 or more years, and y'all had got to the point of some issues or whatever, y'all want to go see a counselor, by all means, go see a counselor. I'm not against that. And Uncle Junior is available, 555-5555. So, but I'm just being honest. Like, if I need somebody to help me talk, then what happens when that somebody leaves? Do I need to go get them in the midst of arguments, at a later point or whatever? So I am also against the notion of the differences, because that has always been the scapegoat for years. Everybody's different. We communicate different. We come from only thing is different is that we had different upbringings. We have different environments. We have different backgrounds. So our experiences are different. That's about a 0.75% of the situation that is at hand right here and now. The large majority of the situation is based upon how much you allowed that 0.75% that happened 10, 15, 20 years ago, in some cases longer than that, to rear its ugly head in the here and now. So in essence, when we start highlighting the differences, what we're saying is that I haven't learned a thing from then to now, right? Well, we all talk, right? Word, open mouth, speak, word, think, word. You know what I'm saying? So that's the similarity, right? So we all have some version of education that taught us that 1 + 1 is 2, even though that's being challenged today. Stuff like that. So there's So there is some things that we have. There's a lot of things that we have more in common than we have different. So we need to trash the notion of the differences, because the differences is the thing that divide. So I think at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, as we view the idea of repair, right? Repairing this relationship, we got to realize that it's a two-way street. It's both you and I that is in the repairing mode, not just me seeking to repair and you not necessarily wanting to repair. Once I sense that, then I recognize where we are. And there's no need for me to fight that any longer. I think that's important to understand. Repairing is a two-way process. It's not just one-sided. In the midst of conversation, we should conversate like we are adults. I don't know how difficult that has become over the years. We should conversate like adults. What does that mean? That means if you're talking, I'm listening to what you're saying. I'm processing what you're saying. I'm responding exactly to what you're saying. It doesn't matter how I feel about what you're saying. I need to respond to what you're saying. After I respond to what you're saying, then I have the floor to now say what I think as it pertains to what you're saying. Too many times we skip that middle piece. We skip the responding to what you're saying because we weren't listening, because we were too busy booting up for what it is we want to say next. So while you're talking, I'm thinking, and if I hear one word, I'm coming around the corner with the left hook. Doesn't make sense. So a lot of times we forget. I think it was Unc who said, at one point in time when I was a boy, I put away those childish things. Then when I became a man, I'm agreeing with him, right? At some point, and again, man, both man and woman, both man, right? So again, both parties, whether we're talking man on man, whether we're talking man on woman, whether we're talking woman on woman, or whatever else anybody else decide they want to identify with today, right? There has to be the adult version of you that shows up in the conversation, because I don't want to talk to the child you. I'm just being honest. I'm sorry if it's direct, but it doesn't change what I'm saying. I don't want to talk to the child in you. I want to talk to the adult in you when we're trying to repair. Now, there's another point in time I can speak to the child, because I think we do not lose the fact that the child is existing in every person, but the child only shows up at the appropriate moments in time. Unfortunately, some of us don't understand when that is. And so the child will show up in adult conversations, but we never taught that child how to be in the child's place, while adults are trying to come, what as they say today, stand on business. So that's just my thoughts. What you got, Chris? Look like you're ready to go. Pull string.
Okay, I'll make it short and sweet. Another component of that is understanding that the other party might not want to repair the relationship. So learn how to take a L. You might not be able to repair that relationship. That don't mean that you extend the olive branch, like Unc said, shut up and listen. And if y'all part ways, y'all part ways. But learn how to take a L.
See, that's the question, Coach. Can I? But it might make us go longer, so maybe I won't.
If y'all don't mind, just give us like a couple more minutes. Go ahead, on.
So, all right. So, Chris, you said that, and I know it's been said before here on this show or before, but what are some clues or what are some signs that the relationship is beyond repairable? Because I will say this: a lot of times, what we hear is, blood is thicker than water, and we family because we have the same bloodline, and we know that there are some nasty people that we are related to. And but at the same time, we will hold on to these nasty relationships, these horrible relationships with people, because we are simply family. So what do you say, specifically for Chris, but obviously, of course, anybody else who wants to chime in, but like, how do we know when a relationship is beyond repair?
When it hurts. And it ain't supposed to, especially when you family. You asking the wrong person, because I don't do blind loyalty. I don't care who you are, family, friends, job, whatever. I don't do blind loyalty. I don't just because you're related to me don't mean I gotta be loyal to you. Are you serious? I got family I don't even talk to, and we live up the street from each other. I don't care nothing about that. If what you are doing is hurting me, I can't be around you. Period. Take the L. There are people that you really think love you, but they really hurting you under the guise of love. And maybe that might be the kind of love that they understand where they are. That ain't your fault. Leave. It's okay. Like, it's okay. Yes, they gonna be family. Yes, you still love them, but you loving them and you keeping them over there because they're doing things that are a detriment to you, or they're doing things that hurt you, is that's the okay. Take the L.
I'm going to reiterate something that I said for me, and when it comes to this question, and it's based off a statement Coach always says, right? The most important part of the relationship is not you, it's not the other part, it's the relationship. And when we come to have the conversation, and the other person is insisting that they are more important than the other two parts of the relationship constantly, because there's some people that's not going to move off this square, because I want you to adjust your behavior to the way I want, so that I can be comfortable in a relationship. I want you to put all your steps forward so that I can be the person in a relationship. When that level of selfishness creates nothing but manipulation and mistreatment, right? So I think when the other person can't make the relationship more important than themselves, then I don't know if there's anything else you could do. I could pray for you, but if you're more important than a relationship working, then what can we do? I pray for you. I'll let you.
You muted, Chris.
Exactly, Tuame. Like, you can't control that. You can't control if that other person want to repair the relationship. You can't control that. You can only control you. And I don't and you know what? Maybe this is something that we're starting to unlearn, but I don't understand. I'm you know what? I take that back, because me saying that I don't understand is a lie. I do understand how a person can stay in a relationship that hurts, thinking that is love because that's all they saw. I can get it. But once you understand that this ain't that, no matter who it is, leave. Distance yourself. That don't mean you love them any less. Just take the L.
I'm sorry. I got to ask the question because I heard it a couple of times. I've heard the hurt part. What does that mean?
We all have a feeling in our gut when we know something is wrong, and we know that this just is not right. We know it. We all have it. Not to mention, since we're talking and brought up family, when people use their position to try to get you to do something and think you just supposed to go along with it just because they hold that position, even though it's not a good, at your gut level is not a good look. You understand what I'm saying? Like, stuff like that. That's what I defined as hurt and manipulation. Don't use your position to try to make me do something. I don't care who you are. You can't make me do nothing. I don't have to do anything. Get out my face.
So is this objectively or subjectively?
I would say it's subjective only because it's based upon your core values and beliefs. Let's tie it all into the whole conversation.
Then if it's subjective, it's not based on anything but what my perception of it.
That's true.
Then a lot of times we have to go back and define hurt, because this is the thing that I say, and I say it wholeheartedly. Just because you have elected to be hurt does not make me responsible for it, unless you have some actual evidence that said that I did something that brought that to the table. But if you choose, and I'm not talking about you, I'm just saying in general, right?
No, but that was my point.
Right.
That was my point. Like, if we've been talking boundaries and trying to mesh all of this together, and the whole bottom line compass of this was communication. So obviously I said something. Now, if I said something and you are still doing it just because you think you can, I'm gonna escort you out my life. I don't care who you are. I'm done with that. I've dealt with that for 43 years. I'm not doing it another day. My happiness is paramount, and I do not negotiate with terrorists.
So in essence, I just wanted you to define. So in essence, it is an objective observation that this person is clearly violating something that you've already talked about.
Yes, but I also said that it was subjective because it's based off of me and my core beliefs. And I believe that at a base level, all of that can be subjective. All of that can be based off of what I think and what I feel and what I believe. But objectively, I'm telling you this and you're doing it anyway. So goodbye. So
Anybody else before we call it a night? I think the question is pretty easy for me. It's called values, right? That's all it is. It's what we were talking about all night. Like Chris said, it's values. Values determine for me when the relationship is done, because again, you keep violating the values. It's that simple. That's why values are important to establish out gate. So again, Chris, thank you for that commentary, and thank you for humoring me as I continue to dig a little deeper, because I think it's important for somebody who is still trying to figure this out, trying to understand the space of relationships and friendships as well, right? It's important for them to hear it. So that said, this kind of brings us to our bittersweet moment.
wow,
You up, bro? You got the flow.
that was dope. My final thought is going to be the same thing that I have been saying throughout this entire night. For the love of all that is good, but you know, I really, really will be glad when we get to the point where having a conversation and actually comprehending what the other person is talking about becomes a thing. Because then we will be able to have we will be able to balance things out, and we would actually be able to have a structure because we're talking to each other like we're actual people, and we're not trying to communicate with we're not trying to compete with each other, trying to see who's boss or who's better than who. It would be dope if we could actually sit down and converse like that. I miss those days. I kind of wish we would go back to that. So I guess my final thought is very, 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 very simple. How to balance faith, family, and career with purpose. Since we're incorporating family, say something. Talk to your family, because you're supposed to talk to your family. That should be the one place where you and your family should be able to be completely and totally transparent with each other, especially when it comes to these kids. Because to be real, parents, you owe your kids that. Jesus. So I guess my final thought would be learn how to communicate and learn how to comprehend and understand that the most important person in the relationship is the relationship. It ain't about you.
Man, I say we have to learn how to. Well, let me readjust. We have to learn what our values are, and not just know how to sound them off, right? We talked about the military. When you were in the military, you had to know the Army values, right? But when you went to before board, they weren't looking to promote people who just knew how to quote them, but what did each one mean? And in your life, do you know what your values really mean? And when you really do, when you know what your belief in your values are and what they mean and what's the core intent behind them, it'll cause you to treat your family right. It'll cause you to grow a better spiritual life. It'll cause you to behave properly on your job. It brings all of this together, and that balance. It only gets imbalanced if you allow it to. A lot more of this is in your hands than you think. We don't give ourselves enough credit. You have the ability to speak up. You have the ability to change jobs. You have the ability to fight, and you have the ability to let go. So we have to really dig and understand what this walk that we are in called life is, according to whatever my belief systems, where I draw my values from, right? According to that, and actually begin to walk in it and understand the power you have. That's all I have.
I think we should establish priorities in order of importance and communicate that to all parties involved, whether it be home, whether it be church, whether it be spiritual. Everybody involved with you has to know where you stand, because if they don't necessarily know where you stand on these things, they won't understand when they offend you in those areas. So if it's time, if it's money, if it's whatever it is, they have to know. That way, when you know and you go against that, I understand that you aren't for me. As we were talking about the family versus relatives earlier, blood makes you relatives. You're related to the person. It doesn't necessarily make you family. My family structure are those people that adhere to the same things that I adhere to, and my beliefs and my structure. Whereas my family are just those people that are common to the bloodline of my clan per se. And we have to look at everything that drives us, like how does my purpose fit into this? So if these things don't fit together, and not by force but just naturally come together and enhance me, enhance my relationships, enhance where I am in life, then it doesn't maximize my purpose in life. So I need to find out where I'm missing the mark. That's all I got.
How to balance faith, family, and career with purpose. Um, I think one of the things that I guess I want to add to this is the journey process. So when you're trying to find this balance between your faith, your family, and your career, it's a long process. A lot of us started early. Most of us started in our late teens and early 20s, and we started on a certain career path, and then we have family, and we maybe before then or after then, we've developed a certain level of faith. And now we have all of these different things going on in our life. And we are trying to have some sort of balance mentally and physically, just because there are so many things that's going on in life right now. So I would say that, when you, like Roland's talking about, when you're looking at the purpose part of this, or even just purpose in general, is that as you're going through this and as you are trying to find balance based off of what you have already prioritized as what is important to you versus what is least important to you. And then I think you should start really trying to focus on the journey. You know what I mean? Focus on, when I'm with my family, what is that time like? So that's just, my final thought is that with all of this is just also don't forget about the journey, pay attention to the journey, and also focus on the journey while you're in the process of trying to find balance, faith, family, and career with purpose.
I greatly appreciate all of those perspectives and all of the cogent points that everybody added tonight. If you've ever seen the play Hamilton, I think it's awesome. If you haven't seen it, go see it. There was a time where I think it was Alexander Hamilton was talking to Aaron Burr, and he just didn't know what Aaron Burr stood for. And in essence, what he told him in the end, he said, if you don't stand for, no one knows who you stand for, so they don't know whether to vote for you or not. And so I think that's really where values come to play in our lives. A lot of times we don't have clearly defined values in our lives. So therefore, no one knows who you are. No one knows what you represent. No one knows what you stand for. No one knows where to draw the line with you. So it's too easy for them to encroach on your space. It's too easy for them to take you for granted or your time for granted. I think somebody said it tonight. I don't know who it was. I think it may have been Michelle, saying that you don't own time. I think Roland probably said it as well. I apologize if I got him wrong, but you don't own time. That is a very accurate statement. So it is impossible for me to manage a thing that I don't own. But what I can do is I can establish priorities within the space of time. Therefore, those priorities help me to easily decide what I will and will not do within the amount of time that I actually have allotted to me. This was the same reason why that I gave the whole point about the scenario where the child forgot and tried to remind the parents at the last minute about the football game, even though the plans had already had plans. The parents had already had plans. So again, we need to have clearly defined values. We need to also allow those values to establish priorities for our lives. And that is my final thought. However, listen, I hate that we have to end this conversation, but I do thank you guys for sticking with us this long. We appreciate you. We value you. Remember, again, same time next week, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Hearts of Men. It's going to be another great conversation. Hopefully, I'm going to have a full panel of men, but at the end of the day, whatever we got, we're going to go with it, and we're still going to give you all the energy and all the value that you need because we are here to serve you. That being said, have a great rest of your evening. Have a great weekend, and let the best version of yourself be a blessing to someone else.